Good morning, it's Wayne O'Keefe and I'm here on the Goulburn River at first light. It's pretty cool. I was checking my phone before, it's about 4 degrees, but it doesn't feel too bad. It's a bit of a fog about, and so it's not that really sort of chilling cold, so I feel quite comfortable. I'm rugged up and feel quite comfortable at the moment. I'm going to try and fish for a couple of hours. That's all the time I have, but I fished here yesterday. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cast to exactly the same spots, hoping that because I baited those up yesterday, that there might be some fish lingering around now. Because it's so cold, I don't expect much to happen, but the challenge is trying to work out what I can catch in this time and see if I can actually hook something with whatever changes I have to put in there. I'm using a number of different baits, and I am going to use cocktail baits today because they've worked so well. So I've got some dough baits, which I've coloured red, and I've got different scents in them. And I'm going to combine those with things like cheese or worm, or even bread maybe, so that they have even more attraction. And of course I'll be using the standard berley and a berley cage setup on my rods. So we'll see how we go. Now, one of the rods that I'll be using today is a new rod that I got in. I particularly like this rod. It's a beautiful 2.1 graphite rod. It's got a bit of bling on it, which I always like. Abbreviated EVA handle. It's really nice and stiff, so you can actually pick up on all of the bites. But the thing about it is, it's actually 2 rods in one. The top section of this rod comes in 2 sizes. It comes in a medium heavy and medium, which means that you can use this rod for 2 different types of line. It ranges, with the 2 tips, it ranges from about 2 kilos up to about 7 kilos, and it allows you to, with those different tips, which one is lighter and a little bit less stiff than the heavier tip, it allows you to fish those different type line ranges, and so effectively you have 2 rods in one. I think it's fantastic, and I've been using this. It works very, very well. So for me, it's working with bait fishing, it's working with even lure casting, working very, very well. Little bites on the far right, as you can see, you may not be able to see, it's moving just a little bit. So there's another one. It might be yabbies. I'm not getting a good wrap around at the moment, so it's not pulling far enough to really to show that it's a fish. So I'll pull it away from those yabbies and rebait it. But that can happen a lot in these waters. Your rod will be moving a bit, and it's just simply the yabbies and shrimp. Well, not so much shrimp, they're probably a bit small, but certainly the yabbies sort of playing with your bait. Sometimes you can get yabbies everywhere and it's hard to get past them, but if the yabbies are there, often the fish will be active as well. Well, I'm being plagued by yabbies at the moment. They're taking on my bait, and I've got one on this closest rod, the little graphite rod here. There's one just moving the tip a little bit. If it's a Murray Cray, I might be able to get it in by slowly hooking it and just drawing it slowly. But if it's just, and it's probably more likely to be a Murray Cray, because in the colder weather the yabbies are not as active. So I'll just see what I can do, because I'm losing all my bait. So just where I can feel it. I just feel just a tiny little tug. In fact, I think I actually might have taken all my bait now and left. Wow. So, no, I think that is it. Well, I worked out what was taking my bait. I knew there were yabbies in there. This is a Murray Cray. As you can see here, just got to watch out for those claws. They'll take anything off that gets in their way. And these are very, very spiny things, and you can get them much larger than this. Beautiful looking creature, really, and savage as all hell. Anyway, this one took my worms, and I just slowly bored it in. I didn't pull hard or anything. I'm going to put this one straight back before it relieves me with my fingers. But have a look at the spikes on the tail. Oh, that tail, those spikes are all over its body. So they're beautiful looking things, and you can see that they take fairly large bait in the water, fairly large food. And the thing you don't want to do is put your finger in these things. So I'll return that one. One of the baits that I've used lately has been dough baits that I've made myself. Now this is just a dough bait with a couple of special ingredients and a colour in it, and I like the red because it looks like the things that might naturally be food items in the water stand out a little bit from the mud, and it looks a lot like worms, so I think maybe that's why it is appealing to the fish. Also, I've scented it with a bit of garlic and things like that, so that it makes it very aromatic, and certainly putting that on with worms or with another bait has made a difference in a couple of times that I've been fishing. If you're interested in that, you can have a look at my video on making dough baits. This works very, very well, and it's also a great standby bait should nothing else be working. So I'll use it today, and hopefully that will bring in maybe that extra or only fish of the day. Okay, well, into one. Oh, I know. I think he's got me in a snag. What's happening here? Got it. I think he's wrapped around the snag, and I'm getting them both in gently, but I'm pulling the snag and the fish in at the same time, I think. Oh, this is a good fish, I think. This is a good fish. Bigger than I expected. Unless I've got a snag with it, which is possible. I have got the snag with it. That's what's happened. So I'm bringing in both the fish and the foliage. Great. And he's got me right into the branches now. Oh no, come on. Whoa, gee. Oh, it's a carp. I'll just get him in. There's a fair size, but I think felt good on the rod. Tell you what, on these little graphite rods, the bigger fish feel very good. I think he must have wrapped around a branch or something originally, because I was having real trouble just sort of pulling him in, but anyway, I landed him, so that's okay. Just give you a look at this guy. What he did is he just basically moved out into the flow of the water, and of course as soon as the fish does that, it feels twice the size. So anyway, on a very, very cold day, I just checked the temperature before and it was 6 degrees. So it had warmed up from the 3 or 4 when I got here. Anyway, so that's what I got. And on a freezing cold day, look, you're really not going to get much at all. There's only a very short period of time when the fish are feeding. Getting the Australian natives, you really have to find that one hole where they'll be just sitting in, and so with this, I'm happy to catch any fish today. And this one here, not a bad fish, you know, bit of fight, all good. Might even take this one home and eat it as I've done before. So we'll see. If you're wondering how I use a cocktail bait, it's like this. What I've done is I've got on a not a terribly big hook, like a size 8 hook, have a couple of nice wriggly worms that I've put on. They're over the point of the hook and the bend of the hook, and then I put a little bit of the dough bait over the eye of the hook and the shaft of the hook. I put it over the eye of the hook because it embeds there a little bit better, stays on a little bit longer. That will drop in, and little pieces like that will stay on for a reasonable while, depending on how well you've actually mixed your dough. But this combination of those smells can be dynamite at times, and sometimes they just don't want worms, but they want something to attract them to worms. There's something else there. It all helps, and sometimes I find this outfishes other baits. It's worth mixing them up at times. So you've got to try everything you can on the really tough days, because one bait won't do it, or different baits might not do it, but combinations might just do it. So cocktails are good. I've just as I was reeling in my last cast, I've just caught this other Murray Cray, yet another big one. And it's a female with berry. Now the thing is, it's a bit hard to see here. I'll try and open up. I didn't have my camera prepared, but gotta be careful at these close. But as you can see the berry? That's all the babies. That's all the eggs. Not babies, but eggs. Now these are protected. You've got to put these back. But this female here had been taking my bait in the same place all the time, and she held on. She wasn't hooked, but she actually held on to the line and the berley cage as I reeled in very slowly. And she got into the shallows and then let go, and I just walked in and picked her up. But another big cray, and you've got to be so careful. And just holding on, I spiked myself. You can see the spines. Even on the their nippers there, and all over the back here, those spines, incredibly sharp and tough. So I'm going to put this one back, put it back in the water, let her go back to where she lives, and to breed up. Oh, there you go. Oh, wow, off.